Good morning. Professor Ron here. I wanted to share a few things with you. I've been thinking a lot about what is teaching, what is it to be a teacher, and when I'm in the classroom, what are things that come to my mind, maybe before, during, or more particularly, if I can even talk today, when I'm done with the session. So, as I keep thinking, what is teaching? One of the things that I wonder about is the word apathy or apathetic. I have quite a few students that kind of fall in this category, and I want to try to help, but there seems to be a lot of apathy from my students. So it's something that I've been thinking about. It's been brewing for a long time. Maybe I'm wrong. I always want to think, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something I can do better. Maybe I can vary modalities. Maybe there's something to do to make things more fun and or engaging. But I'm not an entertainer. I'm a music teacher, music professor, educator, mentor, these kind of things. And I'm not sure if it's something to do with maybe there is a higher standard in college, university relative to maybe high school courses. I honestly don't know. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I'm just kind of thinking, where's the disconnect? I could blame it on cell phones or technology and start a whole rant on that, but I don't think that's not everything either. There's certainly a lot of rabbit holes and issues and concerns with whether it's tech or parental involvement in younger students, maybe for secondary, and of course higher ed, accountability and following through, showing up, these kind of things. So, I'm not meaning to open up a lot of can of worms or rabbit holes, but I want to get myself to thinking, get my students to thinking, and maybe as I'm sharing some of these thoughts, getting that conversation going of, seeing what other people are thinking and trying and doing. And I want to see, the awesome learning on both sides of the table for everybody to learn. So I do wish there was more honesty. It's why I wanted to talk about this in terms of teachers sharing. We see a lot of things on the negativity and, people quitting or getting burnt out, or, it's too much tech in the classroom. And I certainly have plenty of opinions on all those things, on how we can use things as a tool and not a crutch. Or we don't want to lose critical thinking. That's all over the place, right? So I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, and I've got if I can bring it, I don't know if I can show it in the camera, but I've got some notes here that won't make the camera view, but so as I'm checking my notes here and kind of talking this through, maybe this is more helpful for me to kind of get things going. So I'm constantly giving out a lot of zeros. I don't want to do that. If I ever have to give out zeros, it could be an emergency. I certainly reach out to students, messages, Pronto Secure Messaging, Blackboard Messages, teaching courses like music appreciation, American music, and I'm a percussion teacher, so there's not really issues in teaching applied percussion and having to give out zeros in that per se. It's a big part of my gig is teaching music majors that are training, they're professionals in training, but I also teach historical courses like American music and music appreciation. There's a little bit of a struggle in the more historical courses that I teach, where, there's a lot of forgetting of assignments or missing due dates. And I don't want to do all that. I want students to do well. It's awesome to have these really great, conversations. And it's really cool when students engage with things. And you can't force a student to participate in a class discussion. I suppose you can make it part of the grade or the syllabus, but if you have a class 20, 30, 40, or however many hundreds, and you can get 4, 6, 7, 10, 11, or however many people to participate in the discussions, I feel like that's a winner. Just trying to get a little bit of discussion and talking and working through things in the class. It's exciting. For me, it doesn't matter if it's one student or 5 students, hundreds of students, in terms of how many people are enrolled or show up or participate. I'm going to always give it my best, 110%, Professor Ron, Mr. S, whether my class has one student, which is, obviously that wouldn't be allowed, but whether it's a smaller class, larger class, whatever the class size is, I always want to give my best. And I really want to, and hopeful that my students will continue working on giving all of their teachers their best. And it's important. You want to give your personal best every day. And I don't want to give out zeros. So this is not a hardcore, 0, 0, 0 kind of thing, but if I'm giving out zeros, maybe there's an emergency, and I will certainly email and reach out and send out messages and communicate. And yeah, sure, you give a second or third chance. I'm totally cool with that. Emergencies happen, that kind of thing. But to me, zeros make no sense. There's got to be a way to resolve that. So there's not so many zeros, so much late work. And I, maybe I am too strict, but I've always been one to be a teddy bear when it comes to, if the student's working really hard and, they get a 0 or 2, then we can talk about it privately and work through. Maybe there's some kind of life crisis or emergency. Maybe they were sick. Of course, those are all extenuating circumstances, and I would, of course, work with that student and approve extensions and or late work in that case. But this is not a video about zeros and late work. It's more a video about, like, what is teaching? Where are we at with teaching and learning with the modern day student, whether it be secondary or where I teach at the college. So if I kind of move forward here without all these other rabbit holes or can of worms maybe that I'm opening, sorry about that, I'll address maybe more later, and I probably have in other videos that I make here. I don't think it's too hard to say, listen to some music in a music appreciation or American music class, and you share like some things that you learned. Now, there needs to be criteria. So here's what I mean. If someone gets a bad grade, whether it be a 0, 40, 50, 60, whatever the grade is and they're not happy with, and you're in a class like music appreciation where part of the class is, listen to Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And number one, share your raw thoughts. Go. Number two, connect to like what you're learning, like connect to the lecture topic of like, what's the lecture topic of the week? So if I assign Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that connects with my musical form and musical forms lecture. So you want to watch the musical forms lecture, then you want to come back and actually watch and listen, get some good notes on Under the Bridge. You can certainly research it, look up a little bit about the story. It's totally cool. But the important thing is you want to understand like the structure of the song, like, is there intro, outro, choruses, verses? What do the lyrics mean? Did you already know it? Did you look it up? Can you hear the different things that are happening with the guitars, drums, singer? And I have other videos that talk about this as well, but the point being is not just Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The point being is if you're in a music appreciation class and you're getting bad grades or no grades or zeros, and the like big overarching like assignment idea is music and video journals. And there's, 12, 13, 14, 15, however many they are in this particular class, in this journalistic idea, where you have some criteria, but the biggest and most important part of the criteria, is number one, as I said a moment ago, the students got to share their raw thoughts. Just go and share. Number two, as I was saying earlier, sorry I'm repeating it, but connect to the actual lecture. So watch the lecture first if it's an online class. Listen to the audio lecture. Watch the video lecture. If it's a face-to-face class, of course, pay attention to the live lecture. And if you have access to audio or video, watch that after class to kind of, reaffirm, or I'm not sure what the best word is, just to, keep it fresh on your mind and maybe dig in more. And I think the number three, if I always boil this down to like in terms of learning on this particular example, it'd be, do you understand the main point of, sorry, I want to click something. Do you understand the main point of like the video? Like, what's the main point of the video? Why is it used in the class? Now, that's a tough one. I get it. And, we're talking about, a 1,000 level course, and this third part of the criteria, maybe it's too much. And I don't mean it to do too much. I just want to get students to think. I think at the least sharing raw thoughts and connecting to the lecture, I feel like that's really, really important in an assignment like a journal type assignment. And I think about, you know, like it's like the whether or not you like the music is mood or irrelevant in a music class that has journal things like this. I think we got to be thinking about that. The quality, the quality of your answer, or the quality of your work, I don't think should be dictated by whether or not you like the assignment, the teacher, or the subject. That this is a hard one. It was a hard one for me to kind of understand. The quality of your work should not be dictated by whether or not you like the subject, the teacher, or the assignment. I actually get the reverse all the time. I get really awesome work when students either enjoy the class, the teacher, or the assignment. And I get it. I guess that's part of human nature. And I think that's awesome, but it'd be nice if we could really focus on the learning more than how much we agree or like it. There's certainly a place for disagreements and arguments. I welcome all that stuff all the time in assignments and or class discussions or Padlets or whatever modality or whatever we're using to do assignments and or discussions, an online, hybrid, or face-to-face. So, I mean, something to think about a little bit. So as I go through my notes, I'm trying to think, what am I thinking about? I think about this all the time I wonder, I kind of find it hard to believe that I'm the only teacher or professor that maybe has a class full of students that just kind of stare at me the whole time or are constantly on their phones. This is hit or miss. It's different every class, every semester, every school year. But I'm sure there's other teachers that there are students that maybe don't take notes or they're on their phones. And I think a lot of us as teachers get mad about it and complain. I'm not here to complain or get mad. I'm not making TikToks or YouTube shorts to rant, rave, and say how bad everything is. I don't actually think it's that bad. I think that it's just we're in different times and we're kind of struggling to find our footing as teachers. But I think students are struggling to find their footing as how do I say? Teachers are struggling to find that footing, but students are also in that same boat in the student role, trying to figure things out. So there's a lot of changes. We can say there's a lot of changes with learning in the past 50 years and how it's changed, and we can say technology and ed tech and apps and AI. And yes, those are, I could sit here all day and dig into like what I think we could do or maybe ideas. But I think there's a lot of people out there trying to figure out. I don't think that getting upset and angry is going to help anything. But I think just talking it through, whether it's a YouTube journal or a private journal, or, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, I teach classes, and I just want to get people kind of thinking about, these kind of things. So, that was my big, my first big point as I look at my notes is just kind of trying to figure out, like, what is teaching, what is learning, what kind of like what's up with students? Why are they apathetic? Am I unlucky? Am I seeing it wrong? Is there a way to kind of flip the script on all this? And my point two is just, it's like, I know I'm not the only one, but it does cross your mind when you're in your office or grading papers or just kind of, staring at the ceiling or the sky and chilling and like, man, there's got to be other people that kind of think about these things or maybe feel the same way. So I'm just curious, honestly. And I came up with like kind of 4 big things. Maybe it'll end up being more, but my third big thing is I think about, okay, well, you might be thinking like, okay, cool. Well, the students are looking at you when you lecture, you have their attention. But the problem is, even if students are looking at you while you lecture in a college course, they're probably, I can't say probably, I'm not sure. There may not be anyone taking notes, or if it's a class of, let's say I've got a class of, 27. And if I have a class of 27, 30, or whatever the number is, it could be in the hundreds. It is a small percentage of students that take notes. I've had semesters where I've kind of taken in the attendance or roll call where I'll pass around a roll sheet, and I pay attention to who's kind of writing stuff down and who's participating in class discussions. I don't make it like a mean thing or a call out thing, nothing like that. But I just try to keep my eyes open. The same way students are perceptive, they know what's going on, and they have that intuition to know, like, hey, I need to pay more attention here. Or I should write this down. At least I certainly want to be optimistic about those kind of things. But I do get a lot of like classes, regardless of the number, where it's not a lot of note taking going on. Now I could make note taking a grade in college courses. I could put it in the syllabus. The thing is, people would still not do it. Students are willing to accept zeros. They're willing to miss class 6, 7, 8 times. They're willing to risk it. They're okay with not taking notes. It's weird. I start to wonder, are they okay with failure? I think failure is actually a good thing because if you learn from it. To me, I've talked about how failure is success. Like, we talk about trial and error, or the newer philosophy of trial and learning, and that yes, it's okay to fail and fail upward, and there's all these different things we can get into. But I think my issue with failure, the small issue would be, is that like when you just kind of like throw your hands up in the air and like, okay, whatever, I'll just take the D or the F, and if you're not careful, it can become a pattern. And so, yes, failure is great. Yes, failure can actually be good. Is like, how does that work? How can failure be positive, but failure be good? Is that oxymoronic, possibly? But the thing about what we talk about, like fail upward, or failure can be good, or failure is success, is through the failures you learn probably way more than the successes, maybe, or at least through the many failures, whether it be 20, 30, hundreds, or thousands. Through all the failures, you can actually get like really good at things. You can acquire some great skills and success, and obviously we all measure success differently, but failing helps you really learn. And so I believe in failure being success, but I don't think that accepting zeros, like basically like allowing yourself to fail like for the wrong reason. I'm not sure what the right or wrong reasons are, but I don't know. It feels like I'm kind of tiptoeing around this. I guess what I mean is, if you're just accepting failure, like you're just accepting it, and you're not using it as like that stepping stone or to get better. I think that's where I get concerned, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, are they failing because they're truly struggling? Are they failing because they just gave up? And maybe that's the crux or the heart. Maybe I'm not getting it all right, but again, I'm kind of thinking out loud here, and I have a little bit of notes. So failure can be a good thing. Failure is success. You will fail tons and times, but you can't fail if you don't show up. You can't fail if you don't try. So you've got to show up to fail, but then it's like, well, wait a second. If you say you can't, like if you don't show up to something, wouldn't you really fail? It's like, what is all this, Mr. S. Professor Ron? Okay, so you've got to show up to the class to even have a chance at success. And I suppose if you never showed up to the class, that would be, you'd fail the class and get a bad grade. But I just think how we view failure, yes, I'm not trying to make it overly optimistic or positive, but nobody should be accepting zeros or bad grades. And like failing, not being afraid to fail, it's huge. So yeah, if you don't show up, you would fail. And it's like, but if you're in the class, if you're actually participating and you're learning and you're working and you're struggling and you're still failing, I think that's the kind of failure that we all need to experience. It's really that struggle. So I don't know if I'll edit any of this out or whatever I get right or wrong, but I'm trying not to think about right or wrong or missteps, or I'm really trying to talk it through from what little notes I have, and kind of thinking about this out loud as a professor, music professor. And I'm always learning things too. I haven't been doing this my whole life yet, but a good while. I don't know at this point, 15 to 15, maybe going on 16 or so years. But I mean, I've been doing it a while. I mean, it's over 15 years. Almost 16. And so I think that these are conversations, ideas that all of us as teachers kind of have to think about in terms of like, what is good failure? Is failure success? If I don't show up to a class, while that I will probably get an F, or maybe I drop myself, or maybe the teacher drops me, or whatever the scenario be. Yes, that is still failure, but you can also have that like positive or really great failure where you're in college algebra, you're in music appreciation, you're in physics, you're taking a class on linear equations or whatever, government class, and you're participating, you're taking notes, you're in the class discussions, and you may be barely making it through with a 64 or 78, and some would say that that's like failure relative to other classes that you're making A's or B's, but it's like, is the grade really representative of like your learning, like the quality of your learning? I don't think so. I think the learning is going to come from the practical application of what you get out of all those classes and apply it to your life. The learning teaches you so many things. Learning, even in classes you don't agree with or don't think should be there, you learn so many skills in terms of organization, thinking, critical thinking, interactions with people, being able to have, can we have a happy disagreement? In today's time or climate, that's tough, I know. So the more and more I talk about this out loud and kind of reference my notes from time to time, I'm like, man, all these things that are coming to my mind in my notes are just kind of on the fly, but I do have notes as I'm referencing. There's so many things that probably I know that I'm saying that, maybe people disagree with, or that could be its own topic, or I could go off in another tangent or parallel or whatever. So I want to get back to the heart of what I'm trying to get to here, which is how important it is, to take notes. So much so that I'm not sure if this will show in the video too well, but I wrote this on a piece of paper. Well, I may not be making the video as I'd like it to, or maybe I could hold it here, or here, or here, or here. However this makes it in, I don't know. But I do think, like, your most powerful tool in learning, it's like you need like 3 things like to really learn in the world. You need a pencil. Like, this is super important. You need a pencil, and you need something to get those notes on, like this. Sorry, I got to talk into the mic. Pencil and paper. You need this. Like, these are like, you need a pencil, something to take notes on. I don't have like a book handy. I mean, I guess I could grab a book, but some kind of a book or article, something like that. Pencil, paper, books, articles, like reading, writing, all that stuff. That's really the key to getting some learning going on. If I were to boil that down, I think, what are students missing in today's learning? Maybe at least where I'm teaching at a college, I think it's curiosity. I think curiosity is the biggest thing that's missing. I'm not seeing students that are curious. So why is that? Curiosity, I feel like when I really think about how does someone keep learning, everyone talks about lifelong learning, and you need to use this technology and use this and that or whatever. But I think the biggest thing, it's curiousness. Like, being curious will lead to some pretty amazing like learning. I think even for teachers, like teachers and students, staying curious, curiosity, I feel like that's the biggest thing in learning. It's like, well, didn't you just say a pencil, paper, and a book? I feel like your tools, like in your toolbox, you need a pencil. In your toolbox, you need like spiral, notebook, paper, clipboard. You need a pencil and paper. You don't want a pencil because you want to be able to erase. Fine, use a pen, totally cool. But you want to be able to like attend a class, listen to someone talk things through, take notes with pencil and paper, read whatever assigned books or articles there are, and dig in. I don't think I'm ever going to make note-taking mandatory or have grades for notes or whatever, say, in any of the college courses I teach, like music appreciation or American music. But I am curious what other people do in terms of note-taking. So, I think that if teachers do put points or extra credit or requirements in syllabi, or you could end up turning into, you don't want it to be like a mean kind of thing. You do want to help like the students get habits. There's probably creative ways that you can help students with taking notes without telling them to. But I think taking notes is important. I can say this all day long. If you make note taking for a grade, maybe it increases the percentage of people that take notes. But then that way of doing it, if you give students grades in college or maybe even high school, if you're giving them extra credit grades or whatever, it puts the accountability on the teacher, and I don't think that's sustainable. But I don't see anything wrong with, if you want to do it that way. It's kind of your prerogative as a teacher. If you want to, however you want to get students to take notes, it's kind of up to you. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, what can the teacher do to kind of help facilitate, to get students to want to take notes? And I think it's going to come back to curiosity. But the challenge is, if a student is voluntold to be in a class, or if the student doesn't want to be there, if it's just part of the degree plan, it's tough. You can't force students to learn. You can't force students to take notes. Even if it's in the syllabus, if they don't want to, they're not going to do it. If they don't want to learn, they're not going to learn. If they don't want to take notes, they're not going to take notes. If there's a required article, whether it's 1 or 20, if they don't want to do it, they're just not going to do it. You can require fancy highlighting all you want. Now, the consequence is they're going to get the grade that they earn based on the criteria, of the grading criteria or whatever. So it does, like, the success is really in the student's hands. So I think that I keep always coming back to taking notes, and how important it is. And so I'm not sure, like, when I think about, like, learning, is this a pandemic in learning? Is it an endemic in learning? Are we just in a time of learning and teaching that is just so vastly different from 20, 30, 50, 60 years ago that we're all just kind of struggling to figure all this out? And again, I don't mean this in a negative way or any way. I honestly, I write a daily journal, basically. So I spend time every day writing my thoughts on, how things are going as a teacher, professor, mentor. And these are just some things that came to my mind that I'm trying to work through. And I want to do it in a positive way to try to figure out, can I do something better to be a helpful mentor to my students? And I hope that there's other people that can work through this. I don't think we're really in a pandemic or an endemic in learning, but it does cross my mind from time to time. I do think, if you're, my 27 cents for what it's worth, if you're taking something historically based, it is pretty simple to find a YouTube video, or find, go to the library and get the books, go watch Ken Burns' documentary maybe on the Civil War for, a historical class. I think there's a lot of resources that students can use, that it doesn't take the place of a teacher, but there's definitely a lot more resources where people can read books and articles and go to YouTube. And we've got the library, we've got Barnes and Noble, we've got video content. I do feel like all that stuff is great, and it can be pretty awesome, a lot of it. But if a student's learning about history, while they may not really need the teacher to learn about all the key things from history. I'm not sure that passive learning is going to help you maybe remember it when you're 87 years old, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a music guy, and I do teach some music history, but these are the things that I kind of think about all the time. Do we need a teacher to learn the history of the world? I mean, I read a book, Brief History of Mankind, Humankind, and I mean, it blew me away. It took me maybe 3 times to really feel like I understand it, and I took lots of notes. I think I'll share a video later on, and actually how I take notes when I read or study, whether it's for a lecture, or that'd be kind of a cool thing, just to maybe show. Maybe one person wants to see it, maybe nobody, I don't know. But everything I read, I take a lot of notes. Some books I read just for fun, and I don't want to write anything down. Other books are more of an academic research thing, and I'm hardcore taking notes. Other books I'm highlighting. Other books I'm like, I'm just going to pay attention. Whatever pops out at me, I'm going to write it down. I'm not going to make it a literal thing, but it kind of depends for me. Of course, if it's a lecture, that's a little different. I'm going to write things down. And here I have actual, really 4 big paragraphs and a few notes. So I don't know. I just want to get us thinking about all this, about learning and note taking, and it's not the end of the world in learning. And I don't know that we necessarily have to rethink everything we do as teachers and students. I just think we need to talk about it. I'm going to go into class in a few minutes, and I'm going to talk about A Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. I'm going to review some things on Blinded by the Light, Springsteen versus Manfred Mann. I'm going to review some form type things and what is musical form from Under the Bridge through, say, like, Sonata Allegro form. And, we're going to talk about the stories behind music for very particular songs. And like, that sounds kind of jumpy, but it's wrapping up, 5 weeks of material in one of my classes that I teach, music appreciation. And, I'm going to go in there and be as, I hope as, happy and fun and engaging as I can, and trying to get the students to talk about things and, of course, ask questions without feeling, pressured to. But even as I walk to class and as I plan for today, I'm thinking, okay, I want to try something new and different today, whether it be a dance or a song or a particular set of questions that I ask to get people thinking, or sometimes I'll bring a speaker and a mic to class. Sometimes I'll play. I'm not thinking like I'm supposed to be an entertainer. I'm just thinking, if the teacher makes it fun for them, hopefully it makes it a little bit more fun for the students in the class. But we still have to remember, as I'm winding down at the end of the video here, we're not here to be entertainers. We're not here to be their friends. Friendly, yes, but respectful, friendly, professional, courteous, yes, of course. But I'm here to teach, and the students are there to learn. So I'm not thinking about what can I do to entertain them or whatever today. I'm thinking, what can I do that would give another spin on this assignment or idea that I'm talking about today? Not only to get me thinking a little bit more critically about it, but maybe to get them thinking a little bit more critically about it. So I think the last big point I would make, I'm not sure if these are points more than me just labeling my paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be, what does this kind of all boil down to? If you've made it this far in the video, either I've intrigued you in some way, you're like super interested, or maybe already a loyal follower, or regular hardcore viewer, and thank you. That's awesome. I could have started with this, but I think what I'm saying, what it all really boils down to is, like, we're trying to figure out like the problem or concern. Can we make some actionable steps? Can I create some steps? Do I have some ideas? And I think what this all boils down to is, 4 or 5 or 6 things. I wrote down 5, but maybe it should only be 4. So I think what this boils down to is pretty simple. Teaching is not over, but it's just different. Not all students are necessarily apathetic. I could be reading the room wrong. Maybe we haven't made that connection yet. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of teaching. We're just in some new and different times, and we're all trying to figure some things out. And if this is done in a negative way, it's just only going to push everybody farther apart. Teachers and students. So sorry, that's just me kind of in summation. I kind of sorta. Now, the 5 things I wrote down of like, what does this all boil down to? Number 1, students need to show up to class and be on time. That's simple. Number 2, students need to take notes without being asked or told to, whether it's for a grade or not, but take notes without being asked or being told to. Number 3, if there's a book in class, like a required book or article or any kind of audio or videos, it's like whether it's a book, an article, a podcast, if there's any audio, video components, like video lectures, audio lectures, journals, books, whatever, my third point is you need to do that before the actual class. If the lecture is on the Civil War, if the lecture is on Mozart, Mozart, the face of child prodigy in classical music, or the history of the Baroque period, or the stories behind Elvis Presley, like as much as you can, you want to prepare before the class. That's kind of how you make it stick more. So if there's a chapter you can read or an article you can read, and it's of course assigned, or any kind of audio video, you want to do that before the actual class lecture or class activities. Get you more in the frame of mind of the times, what's going to be covered. It'll actually get the information to stick more. And I would recommend before class and then reviewing some things afterward as needed. It's how you make connections. I've heard people say it is what it is, and what you get done in class is what you get done. But if that's not how it's going to stick. Don't take my word for it. You got to try your own experiments. and kind of see. I mean, I only have 15 going on 16 years, as I said, of trying different experiments with college students. And so there's people that have been doing this longer than me and have other ideas. But again, number one, show up to class, be on time. Number two, take notes without being asked. Number three, read the book, articles, watch the videos, and listen to the audios if required. Number four is participate in class discussions. Number five, ask questions. And every time I think about these 5 points, I'm always like, what's the overarching thing? Curiosity. How do you show up to class? Well, you got to be disciplined. You got to show up even when you don't want to. Why should you take notes? Unless you have an eidetic memory, you're not going to remember everything. I don't know too many people with picture-perfect photographic memories. What's the point in reading a book? No one reads books. They read short form, and they watch YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. I think about it like this. Your brain needs to be able to absorb that information. So one of the best ways we know of that the brain can absorb and try to understand and kind of grapple with ideas, even when it's a struggle, is reading it through. Again, don't take my word for it. You gotta get in there and do it. Participating in class discussions, that's so important because there's just so many things to talk about. Now you got to stay on point. It can't be like you're in history class and there's like puppy dog stories. Like if it's a history class, it needs to stay on point. Nothing wrong with maybe a tangential moment here and there or parallel, but it can't go off like too wild. It needs to be more of a heartwarming thing, or it's Valentine's Day, or it's the holiday season, and maybe the teacher wants to share, I don't know, some happy-go-lucky cool story or something, but those things got to be kept short and sweet, So I think in summation, I just want myself and all of us to be thinking about like, what is teaching? What is learning? Where are we at today in 2026 or whatever, whenever someone could be watching this video in 2038, 2035, or whenever you watch it, I have no idea. Maybe I won't even post this. I don't know. I think about these things all the time. It's not the end. Teaching is a wonderful and amazing, awesome profession. I think what warms my heart so much in teaching is seeing the students work through all the struggles and they come out, better people at the end, better, just they come out better people. They come out stronger and resilient, and I suppose I could go on and on about that, but I'm not saying I enjoy struggle. I don't know that anybody does, but I think that when you work through the struggles with hopefully a good mentor, I'm not patting myself on the back. I try my best to be a good mentor as best I can. I've never been a fan of the professor terminology. I mean, I really feel like I'm a mentor. I'm a teacher. I'm a mentor. Yeah, okay, sure, professor, but I'm just a teacher. I'm a mentor. I'm someone that enjoys sharing knowledge with students and helping them achieve their childhood dreams. I want to keep learning and trying new things, not as an entertainment value kind of thing, but as a creative endeavor to keep working through different ideas of teaching and doing things collaborative with my students and music appreciation, American music, and even in all the percussion drum stuff that I do with my music majors, music students. So, I think number one is trying to figure out where we're at, and students. And number two is, I know I'm not the only one. Number three is maybe more, my big point on number three is like note taking, and number four is actionable steps, like the 5 things I was talking about. So yeah, I'm repeating myself too much and being redundant. That's what teachers do. It's like we keep repeating ourselves over and over again, and like blah 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 blah. Can we go now? All right, yeah, you can go now. See you later. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Professor Ron, and I enjoy what I do as a music professor. If you find this video helpful, please, like, subscribe if you want. Share a comment, something thoughtful, provoking, meaningful. And enjoy your day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.